Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation! Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live! I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan, and it looks like I forgot to do something. Let's hold, please, for dinosaur inflation. Which, if anyone's wondering, yes, my smart switch is called Dinosaur. See, there you go. And now, the dinosaur will inflate. Jack says, Dinoflation, yes. Stian says, I hope I didn't miss the regrets. Well, I hope I didn't miss the regrets either. We'll have to see. Sad Max says, controls the dinos, so why not? All right, let's see who we have in the chat. We have Hardware Hacker. Hi, Hardware Hacker. We have Thomas Armstrong. Eep. Hi, Thomas. We have Callan. Eep Cubed. All right. Hi, Callan. Hardware Hacker says, technically, Cubed would require 3 Eeps. Thunderclap. Jack 68K. Hi, Jack. Hello, hello. We have Sadmac 356. Hi, Sadmac. We had Jack reminding me that I'm late. Yes, I was a little bit late. Cup Bomb knows the drill. Hi, Jason. It is just in time. Yes. And let's see here. We have Stian. Hi, Stian. Hope you didn't miss the regrets. Nope. Right on the bench. Oh, I might have given it away. And all right, let's see here. We have the 3D printer goal. Link is in the description. I have no idea if updating OBS has fixed the issue. I'm going to open Firefox. Not that I was getting notifications in Firefox, but well, if I don't open Firefox, then I will have no backup notification opportunity if it... Yeah. So anyways, notifications may not work. Stian's guessing I have an IBM 5155 Trident edition. Stian says I was a little bit late too. By the powers granted to me by absolutely nobody, I forgive you. Thank you. Thank you, Stian. All right. And let's see here. I guess we might as well... Why not? Go to the following.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
Thank you to Jack68K. Apparently, notifications have resolved themselves by updating to OBS. So, yay. Sorry, I mute while I play the video so that you don't hear me potentially reacting to things that happen, and I forgot to unmute. I wish I had some more automation so it would mute and unmute automatically, but I have to do it manually, and I forget, so yes. It was my fault. And also, it looks like we have Jesse, hi 83 I80386SX. And we have Frogman, hi Frogman. And we have Socket Wrench asking me about my stomach bug. It was more of a, I ate something that was really disagreeing with me, and I thought it was really disagreeing with me, and I did not really want to stream because I was not sure exactly how disagreeing that food was. I will have you know I did not repeat that food again. Yes, I'm feeling better, and this package here... Uh-oh. Hold, please. Let's see here. Alright, it would appear as if updating OBS has affected the camera assignment. Alright, let's see here. Uh-oh. Oh, wait a minute. Well, actually... Hold, please. I was afraid I might have done this, but I didn't see anything unplugged. I have a feeling the HDMI cable is ajar. Because not only did I update OBS, I swapped video cards in this computer because I was going to be installing the latest NVIDIA drivers. So I swapped video cards. In order to get the old video card out, I had to turn the computer sideways. I have a feeling I bumped the HDMI cable for this capture source. So hold momentarily while I go check to see if I actually did this logic. Because I have a feeling it's dislodged. Thank you to someone. I will acknowledge you as soon as I walk back around the bench. All right. Okay. Let me... Blackmagic Design, Video Setup, Intensity Pro. Video in HDMI, output format NTSC. Oh, wait a minute. Well, the driver sees the card. All right, let me hide this for a moment. Oh, there we go. There we go. And, all right, looks like the filter is... Actually, it looks like for some reason... installing a new video card changed the enumeration of the Blackmagic capture card. So it looks like we now have table cam. Capcom is asking, what is your bench cam? It's a camcorder plugged into a Blackmagic Design Intensity capture card from its HDMI out. Specifically, it's a Canon something or other, and I couldn't tell you what it is, but it is a camcorder. So if I want to capture video working overhead, I will usually smash record on the camcorder to get better quality video than the Blackmagic capture card will give me. I also, before I get sidetracked further, need to thank Hardware Hacker for the notification. Yay, these work again, $5 to celebrate. Yay! All right. Yes, live stream troubleshooting at its finest. Now let's get back to Wheel of Regrets. And if anyone's wondering, my Blackmagic Intensity capture card did come from eBay. We have this package from an eBay seller in Minnesota. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Minnesota. Sakurin says, better than my using a C790. Yeah, I need to order a new webcam, not for down here. I had a webcam so I could join other meetings from computers upstairs. It decided to stop working this weekend. I went and grabbed one of my spare Anchorwork C310 webcams, which I cannot recommend if you are using Windows. Hi, Stian Eep, for the $1.28 super chat. Thank you. Sakurin says, Minnesota, no one lives there. Isn't that the land of 1,000 lakes or something like that? Anyways, yeah, I had a webcam die, so I came in downstairs last night, swapped the video card, updated OBS, did that stuff, grabbed that spare Anchorwork webcam, which I cannot recommend for Windows users, because now I know why I had trouble using it for streaming. It's like a little detail buried at the bottom of their FAQ. Anyways, I set it up, install the software. Tonight, try to join the Teams meeting from that laptop. Of course, Teams is telling me something else is using the webcam. I have to close the Anchorwork software, which of course makes the camera forget half the settings you've set. And then a note at the bottom of the FAQ, the little note that says, in Windows, multiple streams are not supported. And now I know why I had trouble using it for streaming, because in Windows, you can't have the Anchorwork software and another meeting software running, but if you don't have the Anchorwork software running, then the webcam doesn't hold some of its settings. Uh-oh. YouTube is warning me about something. Oh, well, okay, my bandwidth's a bit down, but I got variable bandwidth running, so... Anyways. Yeah, so don't get the Anchorwork C310 if you're using Windows, because you can't run the Anchorwork software and anything at the same time. Maybe if I used a Mac or Linux to stream, I might have had better luck with it. But anyways, I'm probably going to be buying a Logitech webcam for that laptop upstairs. Gutbum says, it's buffered for a few, but no biggie. Jesse says, YouTube screwed my stream in the beginning. They're having trouble. Anyways, what do we have here? We have an Acculogic Rampat card. Rampat, Ramp-AT, Rampat, Ampat, I'm just trying to find funny ways of reading the name. Yeah. 16 megabyte memory for AT bus systems. 16 megabyte memory expansion board for 286, 386, and 486 computers. Fully compatible with MS-DOS, Windows, OS2, Unix, NetWare, and other popular operating systems. Works in any 16-bit slot. Complete in box that has been water damaged. And Jesse says, I don't have Chicago's infallible ISP Comcast. I can't even blame them. Yeah. There we go. Computer systems supported. Basically anything old with the 16-bit expansion slot. Operating system compatibility. Basically anything that will run on said computer. Pretty much. Probably as long as said operating systems can use XMS memory or something like that. Application software compatibility. Pretty much any application that can run on any operating system that can run on any of these systems pretty much. Memory modes, system backfill, extended and LIM expanded EMS memory, blah, 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 blah. There you go. Self-installing, no switches or jumpers, installs in minutes, although I have a feeling I'm going to have to battery mod this to fix that. Anyways, let's open this up and see if see what we have here. All right, we have a driver disk, which I'm hoping is not... Well, okay, at least so far so good. The disk doesn't look immediately moldy. I will probably have to grease weasel back this up. Oh, well, okay, so the disk... Well, alright, I am noticing some sadness with this disk. Yeah, I think there is maybe some mold on the disk. So anyways, I will probably have to back this up and then clean the drive really good. Jack says lick it to find out if it's moldy. Oh, look! There's a 3.5-inch disc. And it's actually a weird blue. And it is possibly in better shape than the 5.25-inch disc. Maybe because the 3.5-inch disc doesn't directly touch the little foam thing inside of it. Alright, but I theoretically have drivers. And we have foam. Ah, there we go. And we have a registration card and instructions. There we go. Should you need help, we can call a phone number that's probably no longer Acculogic. The limited warranty, 2 years. Ooh, that was actually pretty generous. Fairly generous. Never registered. Here's our easy installation guide. So, there we go. Basically, I think you install your SIMs. You can have 2, 4, 8, 10, or 16 megabytes. And let's see, plug it into the computer. You run the automatic setup, which is basically going to set some non-volatile RAM on the board, I believe. And then if you configure any EMS memory, you install the EMS driver. I'm pretty sure if you you do XMS, then I don't think you have to install a driver, because that's basically just maps it into normal address space. There we go. And then we have the pièce de résistance, the Rampat board with plastic clips. Grr. And we have 2 non-matching memory modules installed. And they are probably both 1 megabyte SIMs, yes. But there we go. There's the Dallas Eliminator, which is basically it basically eliminates jumper switches. It, I think, has about, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 2 bytes of memory that's battery backed or something like that. It's not much. It's really a simple card. Made in USA. Now, why would I buy a silly card like this? Jesse says, Dallas. Yes. Why would I buy a silly card like this? In fact, I pretty much jumped on this card when I saw it, because it's a 16-bit card. Works in any 286. Gupom says, because they're neat. Yes, they are neat. I have to say, they are neat. Steven says, why wouldn't you? Well, I was trying to restrain myself, but I could not. I'm surprised no one guessed that because it will go in this motherboard so nicely. It's our Chips and Technologies 286 board. Notice that it has 16 and 8-bit slots. Also note that that is the only RAM it has. So in order for this to have more RAM, I would have had to have found a memory card for, well, for the 16-bit slot or the 8-bit slot, but that would have been slow. Capcom says, I had a PS2 Model 30 286 that had a memory ISA card. It was cool. So, basically, if this 286 board works, well, there we go. I have a RAM upgrade for it. It'll give us 2 extra megabytes of RAM. Because I do not know if I have any... Oh, wait a minute. Those are just 256 by 1. I think those are 256K by 1 chips. So I might have some, but I'm afraid that they might be 256 by... No, wait a minute. The Apple II GS memory card, I think, uses 256 by 1 chips. The only problem being that this is parity, and the Apple II GS memory card is non-parity, so hopefully I have enough. And hopefully they're the right speed. Because there are... Yep, there's definitely 18 of them. So I think if this board works, we can get it up to 1 megabyte, and then with that RAM card, the way it's configured, Jack says, no stealing RAM chips from an Apple II GS. No, I will not steal RAM chips from an Apple II GS. I will steal them from an Apple II GS memory card that is not installed in the Apple II GS because I gave it a better memory card upgrade. And if I ever put the card back in the Apple II GS, it will get its memory upgrade card back. All right. So last week we fixed the traces that were on the bottom of the board. Or I think we did. So we have, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 bodge wires. Jack says, I have a 4 megabyte RAM GS card from back in the day. Yeah, I have a couple of the Apple branded cards. That, if you'll remember, it was probably about 2.5 years ago, I bought a lot of Apple II expansion cards. And I've now sold most of them. But there are a few cards I did keep. And I think 2 of the cards I kept are some Apple II GS memory expansion cards. Because I knew I might need the RAM chips at some point. So I will probably use one of those cards as memory. Now, what I'm going to do, because I would kind of like to tack, especially these 2 longer wires down. Jack's saying, are you referring to the 80 column card purchase? There were, like, I think 12 to 15 80 column cards in the lot, yes. I think there were also a number of Disc 2 controllers. There was a SCSI card. There was... I think there was a... Yeah, it was that lot. Yes, there was 80 column cards, among other things. So I think of everything that was in that lot, I think I kept I think I did keep like one of the 80 column cards because most of the time when you get an Apple IIe, it already has an 80 column card in it. And I kept the Apple II GS memory cards that were in that lot. And I meant to keep a Disc 2 card or two, but I think I accidentally sold the card I meant to keep because I accidentally I didn't set it far enough away from the cell pile, so it accidentally got sold. I didn't mean to sell every last Disc 2 card. Yeah, yes, when preparing to go to VCF East and taking stuff for consignment, don't like don't be a klutz and accidentally put your don't accidentally put the card you meant to keep too close to your cell pile. Alright, so basically what I'm trying to do is I just want to tack these down in a couple spots so that as I work on the board on the other side, I don't pull the wires loose. I'm also just going to probably put something in the corner here so that when I put it in the case, I don't accidentally like have the wire too close to the screw hole. Jack says, I would be doing myself a favor if I accidentally sold some stuff. Well, I discovered the error sometime working on computer when I didn't have a Disc 2 card, and well, yeah, I had to buy another one. But of course, I had to buy it from eBay because there was no swap meet soon enough to when I needed it. Alright. Probably if I knew where my hot glue gun is, I'd probably use hot glue, but Captain Tape will work just as well. Basically, I'm just trying to keep the wires, give the wires some strain relief. And in this case, I'm going to also want to make sure that when I screw that down, because that's usually a screw standoff. Oh, that was the cap to my scalpel. All right. So that's the end of the wire. That's somewhere where I don't want to get the wire caught under it, so and one more piece of tape. Now, some of these I will probably remove at some point because I think this board, I don't know if this board has an external battery connector, so I may need to put a battery mod where the battery went so that I can have a battery battery holder. Oh, wait, no, actually, I think I see the external battery. Oh, it does have an external battery connector right there, so I think we're good. Anyways, this should hopefully protect these wires. And I'm hoping that wire did not fall off the... no, that didn't fall off the board. I think that was just on my mat. I think that was one I couldn't get tacked down, so I retried again. Anyways, there we go. So hopefully that will keep that stable. Now, the one thing I wanted to check, because there was a via here. Or a set of vias here. Right here. Oh. Yeah, in case I need it, I brought my new ATX power supply for old board testing downstairs. I haven't used it yet. If anyone's wondering about a thermal take. Thermal take 600 watt. Because, yeah, this is another sidebar. Because it had 20 amp of 5 volt capability. Which is what a lot of AT power supplies would do if they're like a 200 watt AT power supply. So I knew that if I had something that really needed the 5 volt power, because a lot of old boards use 5 volt, whereas nowadays the CPU voltage regulators will regulate down from 12 volts down to like 1 point something. But vintage computers more heavily relied on 5 volt for the CPU power. So I wanted to make sure I had something that could actually do 20 amps of 5 volt, which this is actually kind of rare these days to get 20 amps on the 5 volt rail. A lot of modern ATX power supplies only give you like 12 to 15 amps on the 5 volt rail because it's mainly just drives now that use 5 volt. The motherboard usually, I think, regulates everything down from 12 volts. So, anyways, so yeah, I went for the, if anyone's wondering, that's the model I went with. It just so happened, yeah, it does negative 12, which I think some power supplies are actually eliminating negative 12. It does not do negative 5. No modern ATX does. So this did happen to be a 80 plus gold supply. I wasn't looking for 80 plus, but it just happened to be an 80 plus gold. I was looking for 20 amps on the 5 volt rail, or close to it, so that it would be more appropriate for vintage computers. I will have to use a voltage blaster for anything that needs negative 5 volts. Kind of one of those. At least it will do 20 amps on the 5 volt rail for testing old boards. And being a modern power supply, it'll have modern short circuit protection. I brought it downstairs because I was entirely tempted, because of these tantalum caps, which are not shorted right now, before I power it up. I was tempted to do the initial testing with a modern power supply, just so if they did go shorted when I powered it up, the power supply would go into short circuit protection mode. So I believe probably what I need to do is this via here. Let's go for a little magnification here. This will be the chance to see if the microscope... Yep, alright, well, the microscope survived the upgrade. Even if the Blackmagic driver decided to re-enumerate the Blackmagic capture card. Oh, yeah, there we go. So, this here should be connected here, and it is, although that certainly looks pretty crusty. I am somewhat tempted to maybe scrape the solder mask off here and just blow some solder to freshen that up. But we do have a connection, and something tells me that we probably have a connection here. So I think basically if I just want to kind of scrape the solder mask off and freshen that up will be good. And I'm tempted to... Actually, I'm tempted to just go ahead and grab the Dremel and... Steven says, Jack, I have a 2GS that I should try out one of these days. I'm just afraid of the reefa smoke. Jack says, maybe just desolder the reefas before trying it. Yep, I would agree. And Gutbomb is correct. You can open the power supply and clip the reefas, and it will work fine without them. And as long as your neighbor doesn't do ham radio, you might even get away with it like that for a while. Okay, that looks pretty good there. That's enough solder mask for me to solder to. And here we go. That should be good. Didn't need to go very far. I just needed to... And Sandback says, meanwhile, my cat has the zoomies and my feet are collateral damage. Yes, yep, the joys of cat ownership. You want to go to bed, potentially. The cat does not want to go to bed. In fact, the cat is the furthest from bed sometimes in that scenario. Oh, let's turn on the jet engine. There we go. I know dogs can do that too. Like, it is time for bed, dog. Dog says, nope. It is time for zoomies. AdMax says, yeah, I've also never had a more reliable alarm clock. Yeah. The downside is she doesn't care whether I'm a morning person. Yeah. That is definitely true. Alright, so I believe, other than the fact that that VIA kind of looks awful, alright, let me see if I can find the VIA on the other side of the board. Kind of. No, well, the VIA on the other side of the board looks absolutely impeccable. Alright, let's see how that looks if I clean it off. Jesse says, it's 7:01 and the dogs are not fed. They will let you know. Yes, that is definitely for sure. I also do know that dogs will sometimes do it is 7:05. You have fed the dogs. They inhaled their food, and now they are going to try to convince you that you have not fed them ever. You wretched human. Why are you starving me? But I just fed you. Oh, well, I thought that would improve those traces, but I think that has, um, not improved some of those traces. Hi, Joe. Hi, Panagiatos. I hope I got at least that close. Welcome. Callan says they do. It's normally the middle of the day, yeah. Okay, so maybe they do give you a few more minutes before they try to convince you that you haven't actually fed them. Alright, I believe that in my attempt to make sure this trace was good, oh yeah. We're still good here. I definitely want to try to put a little solder there. But we are not good there anymore. I'm glad I checked. That was not hanging on by much. So I will probably use a little component lead cut off to bridge that. So let me first see if I can't get some solder. There we go. Let me see if I can get a little more solder here. Here. Now let's see. Jesse says, I have to supervise food dishes here or the two youngest nutcases will eat everything. Hi, Dave. Welcome. Yeah. Yes, that is also very true. Having to supervise the food distribution. All right. So, all right. So this bottom trace I think's fine. The top trace is not. What I would like to do is attempt to I don't completely lose the wire, and I'm probably going to have to do this unmagnified. Hi, Francois, welcome. Jack's asking, is this a battery bombed board? The battery did leak. I don't know that I would call it battery bombed, because I usually think of a battery bombed board as one having more damage, but the battery did leak and did break a few traces. Oh, actually, I think that might actually be a really good angle. But I think I do need to... Jack says, battery kissed. Yes. Right, let me do this. Alright, so I want this trace all the way back here. Give me a good soldering point. Let me see if I can get a good amount of solder on this so I can secure the lead. Alright, I'm also going to pre-tin the component lead. Alright. So now, let's see if I can... Well, it flipped around. I didn't mean to do that, but it is soldered on pretty good, though. So maybe... Let's see here. All right, I want to bend that to where it is over the via. Oh, actually, let's do this. Because that's the trace the via is connected to. That'll give me... Actually, that's not quite... I don't think I quite cleared that. All right, let me get some solder on that. I will bend the wire to connect to that. And the via is connected to this trace here. So I don't really need to... I don't need to connect this jumper wire to the via. All I need to do is connect it to that. And carefully bend this back. All right, and now I think if I very carefully I think that's soldered. And now I think if I put one probe here on this wire and one probe here. I don't have a connection. All right, let me check. It's a component lead, not a staple. It's a random component lead for my bench. It's probably a thicker one. All right, let me clear the flux off to make sure. Because I'm going to go to magnification and make sure I actually connected the correct trace there. It's also possible the flux was preventing a good measurement, so yeah, that should be it. All right. So on this one side, capacitor here, or well, you can't see it. Oh, interesting. Hold on, I'm having trouble getting a. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good. I just wasn't getting a good probe on the capacitor. I wasn't getting a good probe point on the capacitor there. On that leg that you can't see. That's why I wasn't getting a beepity beep beep. Because I didn't have a good point. Anyways, now that I know where the pad is that I can actually manage to touch. Also, my batteries are low on my multimeter, apparently. Alright. So, I can touch this probe here. I got continuity there. We have continuity to this via. And continuity over to this other side. I really don't like the way that via looks, but I would normally use different wire, but that trace. All right. So there. that diode looks gross. Alright, I'm gonna reflow this while I'm here. Try to. There we go. Alright. Alright, let me make sure I did not short those two traces now. There should be no connection between here and here. No, there is not. Alright. So I think that is the last of the traces that were questionable. So let me go ahead and clean the flux off of the board. Got the ones on the underside last time. Cleaned up that area of the board now, and I guess as long as I have... Alright, YouTube and or Comcast are having troubles. Alright. There we go. Yep, says, I've decided I'm going to use the staple for the next trace repair I do in a video. Jack says, the piece of wire with the diode symbol beneath it is sketchy. That is probably... Actually, I don't even know why. I don't know if you can actually use a staple to do a trace repair, Gut Bomb, because the staple might be stainless steel, and stainless steel will not take solder. Ask me how I know. Gut Bomb says, should I use an old rusty staple? Now that might actually take solder, because that would mean it's iron. Although it might not. Jack says, if possible, yes. Jack said earlier, magnet wire, the perfect stocking stuffer for the nerds in your life. Talk words out. All right. We have a motherboard. It has tracer pairs that were probably necessary for a post. All right. That's why I didn't power it up first. All right. Okay. We do not have a short at the moment. Alright, so I am going to use, in honor of Gut Bomb's idea of using the world's sketchiest bodge wire method, I am going to use the world's sketchiest ATX to AT adapter. It has patent pending switching technology. I.e., because I don't have a switch for it, I Captain taped a wire to connect the two wires together. Yeah. Stian says, we haven't seen embers on this channel for a while. Jack says, nope, no way you could plug that in wrong. Black wires are in the middle. Red in the middle means a dead motherboard riddle. Well, actually, it's not really a riddle. Red in the middle means you've got a dead motherboard fiddle. I don't know. I'm trying to make a rhyme. Work with me! Stian says black, the magic smoke wire. Red to red and it's dead, says Sad Mac. Alright, the only thing about using a modern power supply for testing vintage electronics is they have no sense of creativity. Also, I just realized that there's a problem in that I don't know that this power supply is going to plug into this adapter because you... Oh, yeah, it did. Alright. Because you can't detach the 4 pins. Alright, we're good. Alright. I'm going to peel the... No, I'm not going to peel the thermal tape logo thing. Alright, we'll turn this on because my smart outlet is off right now because I have no sense of adventure. I am going to confirm that it's off. I'm going to plug the power supply in. I am going to make sure we are fully in frame because I am feeling more confident than usual. I am going to plug a video card in. I think I have one around here somewhere. Let's see here. I thought I had an ISA video card on my bench. No, apparently not. All right. The blue scuzzy. That's not a video card. That's a box of random expansion cards. That's not a video card. That's an MFM controller. That's not a video card. That is the box of some expansion card on the floor below me, but probably not. Say, oh, that's a box of RAM. That is not a video card. That is a video card, but not ISA. Oh, please, will I just go grab a video card? All right. I'm going to try the absolutely generic GTK video card. Probably has nothing to do with Linux. I'm going to plug the video card in. Power supply is plugged in. Video card's plugged in. The camcorder is zoomed out about as far as I can put it. There we go. It means everything's in frame. The camcorder is recording, just in case we have explosion effect. I am going to take my position behind the toolbox of protection. Smoke test in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No smoke. No smoke, but guess what? We have post. CMOS RAM error, go figure. Keyboard error, well, I didn't plug a keyboard in. Floppy controller error, well, I don't have one of those either. Press F1 to continue. Yeah, let's, Press F1 on the non-existent keyboard to continue. Or Control-Alt-Escape for setup. All right. Well, I guess let me turn the power off. It works. All right. Now, did powering it up cause any of the tantalums decide to go bad? Okay, that one's probably fine. Yeah, that's fine. Because I've got the power supply connected. All right, that one's fine. 17 ohms is fine with the power supply connected. Let's see here. That's a gray wire. We're in mega ohms and yep, we're good. All right, nothing shorted. But I am going to, until I trust this board, I'm going to go back to my relative toolbox of I'm a Coward. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, no spark effects. Got a CMOS error, floppy controller, no keyboard error. All right, let's press Control-Alt-Escape. Ooh, wow, look at that. Blue and yellow. This board is JDMCS approved. Dave says... Joseph. All right, let me go through the chat here. Ian says, oh, look at all the magic smoke wires on that power supply unit. Yeah. Gutbum says, zoom in on those power caps. Yeah, I probably should have. Yeah, that was rather anticlimactic. And Jack68K's cheering for fire. Joe says, welcome back to Explosions and Fire. And Steven says, not the Trident. No, I didn't pull the Trident out. That's a GTK card. Gutbum says, the Trident, instead of Trident 1 of 56. Steven says, good point. Steven pointing out, keyboard not found. Press F1 to continue. Joe says, boom. Steven says, I called it. Hardware Hacker says, no smoke yet. Joe says, I love how it yells all the errors at you. I added some emphasis there. Dave says, nice. I'm glad it works. That new old stock board had been in the box 40 plus years. Alan says, woot. Stian says, I'll stop shouting. That wasn't that hard of a prediction. Stian says, fancy schmancy. Gutbum says, it's even blue on the left and yellow on the right. Yeah, I noticed that. And Joe says, the most basic BIOS setup ever. Yeah. All right, so let's see here. Are we... Oh, is this one of those BIOSes that let you type in the date? 11/07/99, because I'm 11/07/99. I'm pretty sure it's not Y2K compliant. Time. Oh, there we go. That's probably going to want it at 22 15 42. Just get one. None. Video is space. Yep. Halt on all error speed select. Huh. All right. Function 10. Yes, I am sure. Wow, there we go. Mike's Future Retro says, sorry I'm late. My daughter got married this past Sunday. Well, congratulations. And we were going over some of the early pictures. Ian says, clearly a Swedish BIOS. Yeah. All right. So we got a board. It is not boring. I am somewhat curious. What would happen if I would add the Rampat board? So let's see here. So let's power off. And I'm going to add the Rampat board, which I believe is going to require some configuration. But I don't know. Maybe it will just work. All right, obviously this board has no capacitor on it to hold the CMOS settings even a couple seconds. I think this Rampat's going to require configured before it will work. Which means we're going to have to add a controller card so I can boot from a floppy disk. Which ideally means I need a floppy drive. Yeah, well, we haven't booted into DOS yet. Actually, you know what we could do? If we really wanted to test this power supply to the max, I could go grab one of the hard drives we looked at the other day, and we could boot from that. It would have DOS. I think I've got MS-DOS 4 on one of them. Ian says, we could boot into something other than DOS. Well, we could if I had it. All right, I am going to need to turn this off. Because I need a controller card. And the controller card is underneath the motherboard. We will just use this Coos, is it Coowell, not Cooswell. I don't know why I wanted to say Cooswell. This Coowell. And I'm going to presume it's configured. Might be a bad assumption. But the reason we are going to use it is because this would imply I'm going to use an IDE hard drive. Oh, actually, you know, we can use an IDE hard drive. I have a smallish Seagate hard drive we can use. We'll install something on it. Alright, so let's see here. Plug in the floppy cable. Floppy cable is on the edge of the card. We will plug in the primary hard drive cable. Because I can definitely tell you this BIOS... Actually, you know, that Seagate hard drive may not work. I don't know if it's got a built-in... I bet it's not built into the BIOS. I doubt this BIOS has I doubt it has a custom hard drive type, but we'll see. Maybe this is a later 286. Maybe it will have a custom type. We will... I guess the only way to know is to actually try it. So, alright, there's that. I am looking for my GoTech. No, don't make me tap the locate button. Alright, find my... It is with me. Oh. Alright, there's the blue SCSI. N64 controller. Oh, there's an IDE to compact flash adapter. We might end up using that. Hold on, I heard the... Oh, there it is. I knew I heard it. Alright, there we go. Hardware Hacker says, I recently picked up some mini pocket oscilloscopes at 256K and a 500K. Nice. Alright, I bet this power supply does not have a Berg connector on it. Oh, wait. Oh! I stand corrected. Okay, we are possibly going to have to repair the power connector on my Gotek tonight. All right, so we got the Gotek. Oh, I need the hard drive. All right, I've got a smallish hard drive. Actually, it's a 200 megabyte. It might be in this BIOS. All right. Its parameters are 1024, 1234. It's a 214 megabyte hard drive. And it might actually have DOS on it. All right. Power up. There we go. All right. Let's see here what we've got in terms of all right. Oh, there's 1024, 1217. That might be close enough. Because I don't think, yeah, it does not have a user type. All right, so this will give us about 100 megabytes of disk space. It also means that if we do install something on this, we will only be able to use it on, well, with those geometry numbers. All right. And let's go ahead and set our date. We're back to 1999, and it is 2228. Okay. Great. And I've got a DOS boot disk selected. Jesse says, I had a Windows 2000 install set the year to 6232 somehow. That's wild. It might mess with your Active Directory just a little bit. And there we go. We have booted into DOS 622. Yep, says to Jesse, that reminds me of the screenshot of the CPU heat warning that claimed the CPU was hotter than the surface of the sun. Alright, function 3. Hi, John. John says, I see DOS. Yes, we are going to install DOS. So that I can then maybe install the RAM card configuration utility, and we'll see if it works. Although for that, I will have to use an actual floppy drive. In fact, I will probably just hook an actual floppy drive up as drive B. Probably will be the easiest. Dave says, now I can put it in the case. Yes, I can. I can put it in the case. Jesse says, my DL380 G9 reports one of its temperatures is 400 degrees Celsius. It's been like that since March 2020. All right, if you'll remember, this is a 200 megabyte drive, but I had to pick drive type 34, which has half the number of heads than this drive actually has. So we are only going to have a 100 megabyte hard drive, but that is big enough. Because I'm actually somewhat curious. I'd like to run some utility to see if we can figure out the CPU speed. For sure. And we'll also possibly install a math coprocessor, but I may need to figure out the jumpers. But most importantly, this board works. My bodge wires were a success. The board works. Hooray. Yeah, we may, Hi, Steve. We have Mac84 here. And I have this beautiful 286 that Dave sent me, and I have repaired a total of, I think I have a total of 5 wires. Well, it's 4 wire. I think it's 4 wires and a piece of metal from a component. And I'm not kicking myself for not testing it before I made the bodge fixes, because I don't think it would have posted with the broken traces that were broken. generally, some of the traces that run where the battery are kind of important because inevitably they go off to some important things. So let's go ahead and install DOS here real quick. Hardware Hacker says, wow, I mentioned Steve and he appears. The power to summon Steve. Mwahaha. Alright, so while this installs, I believe actually, let's see if we can figure out what board this is. Oh, hold please. There we go. I should have known. Stian says, you should really fill out your registration card. I know. Now is a great time to fill out your registration card. When you send it in, Microsoft will keep you up to date on the latest product improvements, let you know about related Microsoft products. I know. All that tempting information. Yes, alright, so the thing is, when you replace video cards, your monitor designation sometimes changes. So, I had to repick the screen to share. So you got the inception of my OBS screen for a moment. Alright, so let's see if we can't use the RetroWeb to figure out what this motherboard is. So I do know... Alright, we can go about this a couple ways. The first one is... Well, there's no model number on it, so let's go by this. So the CPU socket is a PLCC. I should probably make that a bit larger so you can see that. Alright, there we go. So I think it is a PLCC 44? That doesn't seem right. No, I don't think it's 40. I think it's 68. Hold please while I count the number of pins on the socket. Or at least on one side of the socket. Or search... I'm thinking it's a PLCC 68. Let's see here. 286. Oh, finally. Alright, this is a slow computer. Processor. Let's see here. According to Wikipedia... Yes, 68-pin PLCC. Alright. So it is a PLCC 68 is the socket type. Chipset is going to be a Chips and Technologies. Let's see. Chips. 82C. No, a P80. Oh, no, it's going to be a P82. P82. Nope. Okay, it doesn't like that 82A. No, it doesn't like that part number. Um, 5. Oh, maybe it's just an 82. Okay, it's not a single chip AT. That is not it. It is. All right, let's just do this because I don't know what chipset it is. It's any. If I could type and any chips and there we go. Any chips and technologies chipset because I can't read the chips from my vantage point to know which one it's going to want as the first chip. All right, I believe we have 6 16-bit slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, and 2 8-bit slots. So 6 16-bit and 2 8-bit. All right, let's see if that's enough to narrow it down. All right. That is definitely okay. That's not it. So we're looking for a board that's wider than most. It's going to have the 8-bit slot here and here and here. And it's going to have dip memory down here. And the processor is approximately here on the board. And it's not a 386. So let's see if we see any boards that match this description. Nothing yet. Oh, that's the 386 board. 86. Oh, that's got Sims. Well, here's a candidate, but it has too many. ROMs are in the wrong place. It's not a Packard Bell. It's not a PCs Limited. That would be Dell. Before they became Dell. Or at least if I remember correctly, it is. Let's see here. That's got Sims. Yep. It's not a 386 board. Unknown Neat 286. I don't think that's it. It's not the single chip AT. That doesn't have the right layout, so I don't see the board. Okay, this is not a pin grid array. Let me look for other sockets that it could be. I mean, it could be... Oh, it could be a ceramic leaded chip carrier. Or, okay. Let's see if that matches any. Ooh, okay. Yeah, PLCC's plastic leaded chip carrier. This may very well be a ceramic leaded chip carrier. Because actually, I think that is what the 286s were. So let's try this. I am noticing a lot more boards that look like 286s on the screen. The screen is over to my left, but for you, it's right in front of you. So that's why I'm pointing in a funny direction, even though you're probably like, well, but it's right in front of you. I'm choosing to look at a slightly bigger monitor. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to just look at this just so I can show you. There we go. Yeah, this is probably what the CPU looks like underneath. And if you'll note, that is actually a ceramic 286. There's a heat sink on mine. In fact, it looks like there was probably a heat sink on this at some point. That the heat sink fit in on top of the chip, and then the clip went on to hold the chip and heat sink in place. So this board probably may have had a heat sink at some point. But yeah, so that's probably why I couldn't find it under PLCC, because there's probably a ceramic chip on it, and I just can't see the ceramic because of the heatsink. So let's carry on. All right, unfortunately, I don't think it's this board. I'm kind of thinking this is a Chips brand board. Or at least I thought that, but maybe it's just it's the first board that had their chipset on it. All right, unfortunately, this has the processor in the wrong place. Yeah, that's not it. Yep, processors, that's not it. That's not it. That one's not it. I mean, it could... Here's one that doesn't have a picture, so we'll look at it. Oh, it does have a picture. Nope, that's not it. Okay, it's not the chain tech. It's... Okay, it might be... This one... This one looks so close. Oh, wait a minute. I think this one might be it. There's our processor. This just doesn't have a... That's actually a PLCC. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. This component's on this board. There's a bank of resistors there. Okay, there is one difference. This board does not have the 16-bit portion of the ISA bus run all the way to the edge of the board. But this could be a different revision of the board. Interestingly enough, there's a battery holder on this board. The printer port is located there on this board. Okay, I don't know what this is here. It's not on my board. But there's the real-time clock chip, and it is located there on this board. And I think this board does have that empty socket in about that place. Okay, I think this board Oh, wait. There's that, oh no. That's not printed on this board. I think this is the closest I've come to matching boards. Because it's all these chips that are down there are on this board in pretty much the same place. The chipsets are in the same place. The processor's in the same place. The math coprocessor socket, I think, is in the same place, because I think that's what this is here. It's got the same number of DIMMs. The ROMs are in the same place. I think this is our board. Or at least as close to it as... Oh, bad shorted tantalum capacitors warning. I think this is our board, or as close to it as we're going to come. Yeah, this is... I'm wondering if this is just a different revision. I don't see a version number on mine. Pump says the PS2 model 3286 I had a socket like that too. The person Dave got it from worked at Chips. Dave says, I think yes. Look at the top of the board in the picture. Does that say... yes, I believe that does say what you say it says. And I have no idea why it says that, because mine does not say that. Just kind of why I was thinking it may not be the same board. I guess I could look to see if mine says 860104 somewhere on it. But mine does say turbo 286 turbo 6810 megahertz right in about the same spot. So maybe this is a OEM version of the board or something. I don't know. Oh, we're running MS-DOS now. While we were looking for the board, the MS-DOS install finished. Looky there. We have a dismal amount of conventional memory free. Gutbump says, your board may be a chips reference design prototype. That would make sense. That does make sense. And maybe this board that is on the retro web is based on the reference design. Very closely. But it looks like they might have added a COM port. Oh, you can't see what I'm looking at. It looks like they might have added a COM port and a battery holder here, or someone added a battery holder. This may not be interestingly enough, that diode with the wire on it does not appear to be on this board. Yeah, I don't see that interesting feature. But you are right. Maybe I have the chips reference board, and that's why this other motherboard has, I don't know. As Stian says, 451K ought to be enough for anybody. Yeah. All right, let's install everybody's favorite diagnostic software. And by everybody, I mean people using 286s. There we go. Yep. Oh, that's right. It's install, not set up. Diode with a wire for the battery is definitely a hobbyist mod. Oh, no, what I'm referring to, Gut Bomb, is there is a pad on my board that is marked for a diode, but it has basically a jumper link on it instead. Dave says, she said this was a special board first run given to the employees. Oh, then that is the other possibility, that this might be the same board. But if it's an early run, it might be version 1 or revision 1. And that might explain why there's a few differences. Like, for example, for a very early version of the board, I could definitely see them not running the 16-bit part of the bus all the way to the end. Because a lot of the early 286 boards pretty much assumed you were maybe upgrading your XT. So you're going to have some 8-bit slots. And the XT 8-bit slots didn't necessarily let you put them in a 16-bit slot because the card extended down at the end of the slot. I don't have a XT card handy beside me to show you what I'm talking about. So this may be like revision 1 of the board I found. Yeah, Gutbomb says, yeah, that sounds like a chipset reference design. So I have a feeling that, I think this is the Chipset Technologies CS8220, which is the PCAT compatible chipset. All right, so on the RetroWeb, they do have one BIOS file for this board. It's a version 1.5. I would be curious to know if I burned a set and put it in this board, would it work? And I bet it would. Because I bet this is like version... Oh, interesting. This is a Ward software. And according to the RetroWeb, the one they have is a Phoenix BIOS. Very interesting. They do not have any documents available for this board, so I may be on my own figuring out where the jumper is for the math coprocessor. Hardware Hacker says, I just bought a Zoe 703S from AliExpress for $58.49. Nice. Dave says, I will be seeing her in a couple weeks and find out if she has any more info on that board. Awesome. If she has any other documentation that goes along with it, if she's managed to find it, especially like a manual maybe, that would be really great. And I will even, any info I get on this board, I will scan it and send it to the RetroWeb. How many jumpers are there? There's not many, but so actually it's probably Oh, interesting. It might be marked if I look. Dave says it could be an engineering sample. Yeah, it could be. She may not have any manuals. I mean, it's quite possible they handed these out and they were just the boards. Well, you can let her know that I got it running. Actually, I am almost tempted to try to put a math coprocessor in it. I just have to remember where my 286s are, or 287s. Well, the good news is I know where my 68882s are, but that helps us absolutely zero with this board. All right. Oh, let's there we go. That's better. So we do have an award BIOS dated April 30th, 1987. 512K RAM, we already knew that. I've got a VGA card in here, but Stian says, I mean, you could use the 68882 in a translation module between Intel and Motorola opcodes. How about I just use the 287 that I already have? That is a very interesting memory map. 48K system ROM. Not even using the full 64K. Alright, well, let's run, benchmarks, why not? It looks like it's an 8 megahertz 286. Stian says 287 may be easier, yeah. There we go. We are 4.34 times faster than the XT. Math speed 4.54 times faster than the XT. But there's no math coprocessor, but running at 8 megahertz CPU speed. Excellent. This random Seagate hard drive is 4.47 times faster than the PCXT. Probably because we're basically 4.5 times faster than the PCXT. All right, let's run a little memory test here. And we will run, I guess, the basic test. All right, we will run a slightly more comprehensive test. And we're going to say no. One pass, and we'll run that. And that will let me have an opportunity to try to dig the 287 out of the box behind me, because I think that's probably where they are. saw them at some point. Hold, please. Oh, I bet they're in my box of processors. That might be where they are. Alright. Well, that will let me grab a floppy drive while I'm over there. So we can maybe try to install the Rampat software and configure the card. Okay, got a floppy drive, a 3.5-inch floppy drive. And I did find a 10 megahertz 287. Hey, we have to know if this motherboard really works. Besides, my bandwidth is low, so I check it doesn't require as much bandwidth to go up. Oh, I guess there is one other thing I could go check to see if I have. Let me see if I can find the memory card that I think I have. Oh. Yep, that's not going to work. Yep, I found the memory card. Apple used 150 nanosecond RAM. This board needs 100 nanosecond. Not compatible. Ian says, it feels like you're on a metered connection and your ISP starts throttling you more and more as we get closer to midnight. Except I'm not. I have unlimited bandwidth with Comcast. Oh, there we go. Memory test finished. All right. Let's all right, let's power down, I guess. And we will install the 287 in what I believe has to be the math coprocessor socket. There's the notch. Oh, I got some bent pins. Sort of bent. Not too bad. Let's see. How about let's just try that. We'll power up with the math coprocessor in, and we'll see what that does. Oh wait, no, the other thing is the floppy drive. We'll go ahead and install the floppy drive as well. So the actual floppy drive I'm just going to install as the B drive so that I can still if I can this will be pin 1. There we go. And power. Bird power connector on this power supply. So let me get the adapter here. Plug the adapter in. And plug this adapter in power. And adapter in. Plug the USB from the Gotek. And remove the hard drive from sitting on top of the keyboard. And all right, let's see here. We are at 11:07:99. It is now 23:17. Diskette. 2 diskettes. That should be good. There we go. I do not know if it sees the math coprocessor. It is possible on some of these boards, the jumper tells the BIOS to run the math coprocessor test during post. The coprocessor's enabled if it's installed. It just maybe is not tested. Ah! It sees it. All right, I think it's a system board test. Now, this math coprocessor is over-spec'd on this board because most 286 boards run the math coprocessor at 2/3 the processor speed. So I really only need a 6 megahertz 287 on this board. And I think I have one somewhere, I just don't know where it is. So if I find the 6 megahertz one, I'll probably put it on this board. And there we go. Oh yeah, now our math speed is 30 times the IBM PCXT. That is just awesome. All right, so we got a math coprocessor. Let's see if we can't install the RAMPAT software. It would appear is, oh, you know, maybe I plug the drive in. Okay. You know, well, that might be the problem. All right, hold please while I try flipping the cable going to the B drive, because it kind of looks like I might have had it plugged in wrong. Let's try that. Someday I'll fix the battery problem on this board. Hi, Thomas Armstrong. Welcome. We are 286ing with 287 power. Thomas says batteries are overrated. Well, floppy drive is not reading this disk. Could mean that the disk is. Could mean the floppy drive is bad. Could mean the disk is bad. Yeah, hard to tell. Hard to tell. I'm gonna look to see if I've got a known working 3.5-inch floppy drive. Oh, here it is. I think I've tested this one before, and I know it works, I believe. Alright, we will, let's swap floppy drives. Could mean the disc is moldy. The 3.5-inch disc did look a little better than the 5.25-inch disc. This floppy drive was pulled out of something, so the floppy drive could be bad. The disc could be bad. Both could be bad. Neither could be bad, and something else is wrong. I make no guarantees that all the floppy drives I have are good. I can also look to see if there's Rampat software. All right. I believe it is not the floppy. Oh, night, Dave. Well, maybe it is the floppy disk. Oh, this floppy drive sounds awful. All right, let's see if the well, it looks like someone's archived release 1.4. Well, that'll have to be good enough, I guess. Alright. I suspect I'll have to try to read the disc with a grease weasel. And it may still be not readable. And I will have to flag both of those drives for cleaning, probably. Alright. Alright, hold please while I, knock a whole bunch of stuff over and... Oh, that's a heatsink. Like that time of year where I try not to get up out of my chair because I generate static electricity. And the USB port is like just out of reach. All right. All right. So, all right. I got version 1.4 of the software. I'm hoping that's new enough for this card, because that's probably about as good as I'm going to get. Unless someone can find version 1.5. All right, there's config. There we go. So we got existing memory size. Well, that's not right. There should be 2 megabytes on this Rampat card. Huh. That might be the sign that maybe maybe this is the wrong version of the program for this card. Or maybe there is a switch on the card. Maybe it's in the wrong position. Let me find the quick. Let me see where the quick start guide landed. Or the easy installation guide, as they called it. I guess quick start guide was a newer name. All right. Install memory modules. Okay. I think they're installed. Yeah, they go, okay. I think they're in the correct place. I mean, they could be bad. Okay, plug it into computer. Run automatic setup. Alright. Rampat sees no memory during configuration. Verify your sim modules are installed properly. They're in pairs, seated well, snapped back into place. Verify the combination is valid. Be sure the switch is in normal. Make sure it's in a 16-bit slot. Alright. Alright, let's try this. Hi, Bruce, welcome. Alright, so we will power down. Let's pull the Rampat card out. Alright, it does appear to have 2 sims installed. Alright. It is 80 nanoseconds. And 70 nanoseconds. That is not a matching pair of memory. So I am going to... Oh, I think the switch might have been in the lock position. Alright. So it probably was not able to configure the card. Alright, I'm going to spray some contact cleaner into the switch. I'm going to make sure that it is in the normal position. The Easy Start says that the lock position is only to be used if you have more than one of these cards in the system, because you have to configure them one at a time and then lock their config so that the config software can't change the configuration of the already configured cards. Alright, I just also added contact cleaner into the SIM slots. Alright, put the memory card back in. And now we will have to try again. Yeah, it does not need a driver to set it up, but it does require you to run the configuration program. Oh. And... it did not power up. Or it didn't... Alright, let's try this. Make sure I got that board inserted, and this board inserted, and that board inserted. And there we go. There we go. Probably just didn't have the card inserted all the way. Alright. Thomas Armstrong says some of the Intel RAM cards can drive you nuts setting them up. Well, this one's got an auto config utility, but the switch has to be in the normal position for the auto config utility to be able to configure the card. And I have a feeling it was in the lock position. I don't know that it was, but I think it might have been. It was hard to tell. No, it does not see the RAM on that card. let me... All right. I guess let me go find some other memory. Some memory that I know works. I don't know that these two memory modules that were on the board work. I also don't know that version 1.4 of this configuration program works with this card because it shipped with 1.5. So it is quite possible that I'm going to have to try to read the original disc with Grease Weasel and hope that a Flex image might be able to recover data, but let's see. This could just be a incompatible RAM issue. Alright, so I have two 4 megabyte parity 70 nanosecond sims because the quick guide does say that it needs parity RAM. Alright, just for good measure. I need to find the new can of that, but I think I did spray just enough in there to maybe wet the contacts. All right. All right. 11, 99, let's see here. 23, 41. Okay, there we go. I don't know why we get that character on boot of DOS. Ah, and it does not see the RAM. No, not, oh, this may be the wrong program. This driver says it's for Rampat Plus. And I think I've got just a Rampat board. Oh, this may be the wrong... Alright, maybe that's why it's not working. Alright, let me see if I can find... Alright. Okay, let's give... Alright, let's give this a try. I'll have to create a disk image. Alright. Alright, let's see here. Disk. New. Alright. Image. Inject a folder. Save as. Okay. Well, let me put this image on my thumb drive and we'll restart and then we'll see if this other one I found works. The README file in the folder that, or the other one I found, it was on the retro web, if anyone's curious. It is maybe a bit more promising because the README had a date of 92 in it. All right. That Rampat Plus seemingly was from 94. So it might have been for an entirely different board. There is no base address set on the card, Thomas. The only way to configure this card is with the configuration utility. Is that there's no jumpers on it at all. It's very advanced for its age. Oh, that's more promising. Oh, there we go. That's good. All right. Memory size error, run setup. That's a good sign. Oh, that's a really good sign. Weird. Might need to run the config utility again. See what it says for memory. $83.20 kilobytes memory good. All right, we're gonna continue. And I'm going to very carefully look at what it tells me in the configuration. All right, so 512K. So RAM path's going to start at 512K. So we have 640K plus 8064K. 640 plus 8064. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's right. I saw something in the documentation said, what did it say? Oh, no, it was about the memory count. Oh, we saw a memory count. All right. Let's go back and look at the memory setup. So base memory 640, extended memory 8064. I wonder if all right, let's see. 8064 minus 384, the high memory area. I wonder if it actually wants 7680 here. Ah, it wanted me to exclude the high memory area. There we go. We have 640K of conventional memory, 7680K of XMS memory. Change this. I want to see something here. Let's test from 0 to 640K. Yeah, why not? All right. I will run a quick memory test. All right. That's fine. I just want to see if it'll detect the if it sees all the memory. I bet those 1 megabyte sims are fine. It was probably I was using the wrong configuration utility. I guess the good thing is the ones that are on the retro web do work with this card. I don't know what version they are because I don't think it said, but it does seem to work. So I'll be happy with that. I'll try to pull my grease weasel out, and I will try to flex image this disc. After and before cleaning the floppy drive heads. I don't know if we'll recover anything, but I won't know until I try. And the other thing is, I will also try the 5 1/4 inch disc again after and before cleaning the heads. And maybe we'll recover something. I will also pull these ROMs out at some point and read them out and archive them to the retro web, along with taking a picture of the board for posterity. And who knows, maybe I'll leave 8 megabytes of RAM in this Rampat card. I probably do need to battery mod it, though, because otherwise I'll have to reconfigure it every single time. While we wait for this to finish, oh, I was just looking at its EMS capabilities. It says, if you are using an operating system other than MS-DOS, or if your MS-DOS programs do not use EMS memory, or if you are running Windows 3.0 and all your programs are Windows 3.0 applications, you do not need EMS memory and you should skip this step. Well, then I should probably skip the step. Uh-oh. Looks like there was bad memory or something. Interesting. Yeah, we had an extended memory failure. Oh, maybe one of those sims is... Actually, I don't know that I've tested all the sims that I bought. Oh, but it is 11:58 p.m. My oh my, where does the evening go when we're having fun? So it does look like on that disappointment that I might have a bad sim in the Rampat card. It's kind of that time to end the stream again. Before I... Yeah. Anyways, so... Hey, we got the 286 up and running. We got the Rampat board running in it. We've got this controller card that was just randomly sitting on my bench. It works in it. Generic video card. It seems to work great. So, next step for this 286, I will probably see if I can find some dip memory so I can at least upgrade it to 1 megabyte on the motherboard. Because that only seems logical. And put it in the case. It's a 286, John. But yeah, it works. So anyways, don't forget to smash that like button if you like it. When I bodge the, 6 little bodge wires. And subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. So I think next week I am streaming Tuesday and Thursday. I think the following week I will have to go back to Monday and Thursday. And then I think I'll be Tuesday. And then I think it's Tuesday because then I think then it's Thanksgiving. I don't have Thanksgiving plans yet. But anyways, so yeah, next week, Tuesday and Thursday. So Tuesday, we will be looking at the former regrets that I was going to look at this past Tuesday. And since I ate something that totally disagreed with me, I didn't stream. We'll be looking at those former regrets. I did say, though, the reason why I didn't push that to tonight, and I will give you the spoiler, I have some 3D filament upstairs that I'm going to print one of the parts with, and that was why I pushed it to next week, knowing the filament would not arrive soon enough for me to have printed that part for tonight's stream. Hardware Hacker says, I regret having to wait. Yes. But yeah, so I got some 3D printing to do with the filament that came in today. More details later, but at least now you know the delay was for that. Also, I got to find a few parts that are floating around my workbench that that are for the Mac Plus, actually. Actually, that 3D printed part is also for the Mac Plus. So anyways, that's going to be Tuesday. And then Thursday, I'm thinking we'll have a Pac-Vember stream. If I can pull a Packard Bell out of quarantine and do some necessary cleaning before I pull it on my workbench because it's in gross condition. So anyways, so I'm kind of thinking of doing a Pac-Vember stream next Thursday. So yeah, if you want to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for the super chats and the super stickers. And I will send you that video, Hardware Hacker. I did forget, and I uninstalled Discord on this computer because it was misbehaving and consuming 85% of the CPU for who knows what reason. I will probably reinstall it at some point, but I uninstalled it last night because it did it again while I was trying to install video card drivers, and it was going very slowly. So I just gave Discord the boot so that I could get work done. Talk about drastic measures for stupid software bugs. There's no reason why Discord should be using that much of the processor to Badoop. So anyways, I will send that to you when I have a Discord that I can send it to you on. Which will just be another computer. So yes, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you here next time. And let's see, there we go. Take care and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support I hope to see you next time, and until then, take care!